Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the SkateProud Chats. I'm so excited. We're going to be talking to Nick Traxler today, one of my friends in the skating world. He's always one of the friendliest faces at competitions, so it's going to be a good call. Cry on screen today, so wish me luck. Also, my hair is like drying weird. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I just got home from the test session, so just
Yeah.
time.
Thank you. Thanks for running back for us.
Of course.
Um, so for those of you who don't know, Nick is a former Team USA competitor, and now a coach and choreographer,
Yep.
and always one of the friendliest faces at every event. So, little
I
introduction.
try. I try.
Um, so let's start off fun, easy question. Do you have a favorite skating memory?
Oh my gosh. Um, there's so many. Probably I would say probably one of my favorite skating memories was my last nationals in 2015 because it was just about myself and my partner Kristen and us. Just we like weren't even going to compete that season, but we had not a good season in 2014. So
Mm-hmm.
we decided kind of last minute, let's do one more just about ourselves to have like a really good end to our competitive careers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was probably one of my favorite skating moments, just because I remember taking it all in. Like I still to this day can remember people in the audience dancing to our
Mm-hmm.
music, and just I felt like I wasn't nervous. I just took my time to like enjoy the moment, and so that's probably one of my favorite skating moments, I think.
Was that disco year?
Yes, that was disco year.
Love that program. Okay, that stuck out to me.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
was, I think there's a lot of power in like the we're just gonna do it and whatever season. Like,
yes. You know how that feels.
if we could get people to tap into that, like
Yeah,
before they're
all
leaving.
the time. I wish I would have like tapped into that more now, like looking
Yeah.
back, it's like, why couldn't I have done that more often?
So advice to all the skaters out there.
Yes. Skate like it's your last time to do
Mhm.
it.
But that's so hard. Like,
I know. It is.
but yeah, that was a great year. I love that program. If you haven't seen it, go find it.
Fun. It was fun to just do the disco, obviously, but I feel like we were able to let our personalities show, so that was always fun to be able to do that.
hmm Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about your experiences when you first came out in skating. And I think you've been involved in the skating world for a long time now.
Very long.
Um, and you've seen it sort of change over the years. So I want to talk about like where you started in terms of being an out athlete and kind of the progression of that.
Sure. Well, I think I don't know. I think I was pretty much always very comfortable in myself. Um, I always knew that I was somehow different than others. And when you're younger, you don't exactly know what that is, but you just have this feeling of being different. And I definitely think skating really helped me in that because before I started skating, I remember we moved from Colorado to Texas. And I remember like the first day of school, I cried because it was just like in a new place and I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what what I was doing, and that just kind of set the tone for like people to make fun of me and all those bullying moments and things. I look back and I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I cry? But I, once I started skating, skating really kind of gave me an outlet, even though I didn't, at the beginning of skating, know that maybe I was gay, but I just knew that it gave me that outlet, and so it made me feel stronger when I went to go. Um, to school, that I knew like I had this other outlet that was away from there, that I didn't have to deal with all of the stuff at school. So, but I remember when I think I told you the story, but when I was in like a junior, I was like 16, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of like my coming out to skating and my coming out in general, what kind of correlated with these two stories. But my friend in school, who is definitely like, to this day, she's Karen from Will and Grace. Like, she is the real life Karen. And I remember she turned and faced to me and she's like, somebody I know likes you. And I was like, what? And she's like, you're never going to guess. And so so I started naming off all these girls. She's like, no, no, no. And then she told me, she's like, it's Caleb. And I was like, I'm not gay. And she goes, oh, honey, just when you're ready, you just let me know, and turn back around. And about the same time, one of my friends in skating, we would go to this park and go ice skating. When we were skating, park, like in between sessions, and just hang out. And I'm swinging one day on the swings and just talking, and she's like, I like boys, don't you think he's cute? Or somehow she made me say, like, yes. She's like, oh, see, I knew you liked boys. It's fine. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm out. And I just kind of was really comfortable with being out in skating, and kind of came out then in school later down the line. But I definitely have seen a progression. You know, when I first came out, I didn't know, there was no other gay person that I knew at the time in our rink. So it was like, I didn't really know, I didn't have anybody to look to or to go to for advice. So it's been interesting to see the progression as I went through, you know, the levels and stayed in skating for so long, how it transferred from being, you know, not a lot of people being out. I mean, I remember even being one of the only, you know, ice dancers that was out for a very long time, US, and then progressively more and more, you know, skaters started to come out. So definitely that, I saw the change, which was exciting to me to see, like, more people just being more comfortable with themselves and willing to put themselves out there.
Well, and it's cool because obviously, like, you were a part of that. So I think that's
cool I mean,
for you.
Yeah, it's really neat to be able to watch the progression of people becoming more comfortable and, you know, wanting to be themselves. And I mean, I think at the end of the day too, like, skating is skating, and it shouldn't matter whether we're gay, straight, bi, it doesn't matter what we are. We're just out there doing what we love, and it shouldn't matter one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I wanted to touch on, because I know in your experience, especially like being out before maybe a lot of other people were, you've seen sides of the sport that are not ideal.
Yes.
And I maybe want to start with like internalized homophobia, because I think gay people have been in skating forever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's been really interesting to see that you know, you would think that the skaters or the even coaches, officials would want to, you know, support you, especially, like, you know, obviously there are quite a few gay skaters, coaches, officials in our sport.
Yeah.
And you think that they would be there to support you 100%. And it's been really interesting to see, you know, and I will say, this isn't everyone, but there's been a number of judges that I've come across that I feel don't support their fellow gays. And I don't know if it's because they didn't get the experience that we have. So it's like almost a jealousy, that they're like kind of jealous that, you know, we're able to be who we are, and they, maybe at the time it wasn't, you know, things were obviously different, and be who they are now. And so I just find it really interesting that it, you know, I've seen it firsthand. There's one official in particular that I know. I mean, he would always it didn't matter what we would do, he would always mark us down. It just didn't even matter what. And then, you know, even being told, many times, I think I talked to you about this a little bit, but I mean, we were at team camp. We had just competed in Lake Placid. I think we got second, and we had great skates, and we were really excited. And we were getting really good feedback. And as soon as we kind of got into camp, this one judge pulled me aside and said, you know, you need to stop being so making it about you and being, it's like you're not showcasing your partner and you're making it all about you, and that's just never going to fly internationally. And she got just said some really, really hurtful, mean things. And it was like, all of a sudden we were up on this high, we just competed, we skated so well, to all of a sudden this really like low place where I'm like, well, I don't know what to do now. I really felt so conflicted. And I even told her, I said, I'm just being myself. I'm not, I'm not trying to overshadow or, I'm just doing the choreography that my coach,
Mm-hmm.
my choreographers and my coach skated, that gave to us. And I'm just being myself. And I do remember my coach at the time, he was so mad that that happened. And he went and he talked to her and put her straight. And she did come and apologize to me, which,
That's cool.
which was nice.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
But
shouldn't have
it's
happened in
still,
the first
it's,
place.
yeah, exactly. And the thing is immediately when we went over international and were skating overseas, we were received so well. It was like we always did better there. And it was so hard to understand that, I'm just being who I am. I'm not, there's nothing, and that they're suppressing that. They're not allowing us to be ourselves, I think it's just not right and it's not fair. And I do think I've seen it definitely move forward, but I still think it's there, and we have work to do in our community with, with trying to make everybody, like I said, know that that shouldn't matter, who we are. We're just being ourselves, and that
Mm-hmm.
should be accepted no matter what.
Yeah. I
Not
think,
to make a,
oh, that's so happy.
it
We
does
have
not want to leave me alone.
I love that. That made my day. Um, yeah, I think, and this is something I experienced too, where maybe over the years, obviously, like it's not acceptable to flat out say, like, your skating looks too queer.
Right,
You
right,
can't, obviously,
right,
you can't say that.
right.
But people find ways to say it differently.
Oh yeah, you're too flamboyant. You're too over the top. You're overshadowing her. I'm like,
And we know what you mean.
right,
Like,
exactly.
we still understand what that means.
Exactly, 100%.
And I think there's this problem of like coded language in skating that people use. And I don't think it's on purpose or like people are trying to do the right thing. Like I think it's come about because there have been narratives of like, okay, don't say this. But
Right.
like don't find new ways to say the same thing.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Well, and I think they're just, I think that so many people are just so stuck in their ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think in our sport, there's so many things that have been done a certain way for so long, and people they're afraid to, let change happen. They don't, it's easier to just let it be the way it was rather than try to break the mold. And I think, I know for myself, it was like I just always tried to be me and do it my way as much as I could. And it's so hard. I mean, so much of our sport is dictated by what the officials say and do,
Mm-hmm.
and you just want to make it so bad that you conform to do what you need to do to make it. But
Mm-hmm.
it's so hard to then, it's like you want it, but you want to be yourself. So it's like this inner turmoil of
Yeah.
fighting the things. And I think I just got to a point where I was like, F it. I'm just going to be me and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy my life. And if things go the way I hope they go, then that's awesome. If they don't, I know that I still was myself the whole time, and I can look back and be happy with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think like even as somebody who came up in skating kind of right after your career, I think
Right.
I see that as a young skater that you were out there, doing it your way. And so I think that was powerful for me to see. Um, and I think something that I've been like thinking about lately, is the fact that we're all so young when we get into it. Like we're
Mhm.
children, um,
Right.
or very young adults.
Hmm.
And I'm glad that a lot of us have reached this point of like, I'm just gonna do what I want to do, and like that's so cool. But it's so much harder to do that as a child, like who is desperate to be successful.
Right, right. It's so hard too because it's like when you're little, you just do what your coach tells you to do over and over. And as you get older, you start to have your own ideas of how you see your skating, see yourself. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I remember, after I came out, that was really I started to have more confidence in myself, and I had more interest in choreography and wanting to be more a part of my own skating.
Mm-hmm.
And not just doing as obviously I'm going to do what my coach says, but wanting to be more a part, because at the end of the day it is our skating, it is our life, what we're doing. So I think as you reach into your teens, you kind of have to take more command of what you're doing. And I remember I started doing that, and I remember my coach and I having at the time we had a disagreement about something, and I worked with him and his wife. And so we had kind of a disagreement, but it wasn't like we were arguing or anything. It was just kind of, we had a disagreement about something. And I remember we left that lesson, left the session, came back for our next session, and we were having a lesson with his wife, and she questioned me on it. And so we kind of started talking about it. And then she got mad at me and she called me a faggot. And I was just like, what? This person that I looked up to and who was my coach from I started at 10 years old, is now calling me a faggot? Like, is that how you feel about
Mm-hmm.
Devastated.
Sorry, you're
Am I there? I'm here.
sound. I think you're back.
Am I back? Okay. Um, it was devastating to have somebody that you look up to, that you hold to such a high standard, who's kind of like your second parent, to call you that. And I was thankful my parents were not pleased. And they pretty soon after that, our time came to an end, and I did not work with her any longer.
Yeah.
I switched coaches, but it was like, it just, I think that's so hard, if someone that you look up to like that, to treat you that way.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as you're coming up through the stages, I feel like they're in our sport too. Coaches, there's a lot of coaches that feel like how they start coaching you at 10 is how they're going to continue to coach you at 20. And from my own experience, it's like, no, it changes. And
Mm-hmm.
by the time they're 20, you're more their manager than really you're like, you know what I mean? Than really
Yeah,
like
it's different. It's absolutely different.
how you coach them. So hopefully, maybe, with time, people will start to see that too.
Yeah. And I think it is some of this, like people skating stuck in a lot of old ways, and
Mhm.
people think like, oh, this is how it was when I was growing up. This is how it continues to be. And that goes with like the internalized homophobia we were talking about earlier. Like
Yes.
people are resentful because they had to deal with things. But what really excites me, I think, about like our generation of skaters and the generation coming after us is I think we're all like, no, like I would never want somebody to go through that again.
No, exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
and I think just the steps you took to be like, no, I don't have to put up with this.
Mm-hmm.
That can be really powerful for younger skaters to hear.
Oh, so important. And I think to have, I know when I switched to my coach, Pierre, it was like, it was amazing, the difference from the moment I switched over. It was like somebody that was supportive of every decision that I made and every decision that I was going to do, even if he might not have agreed 100%, but he was still going to support me. And I always looked at that, and I tried to mold my coaching now that way too, is that, it might not be something that I agree with or that I think you should do, but if you're really, hell bent on doing that and wanting to do it that way, then I'm going to help you do that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's great in our, as and I think as I see more and more of our generation of skaters and coaches now coming up, it's like you can see that change happening.
Mm-hmm.
I think is exciting to see.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think like obviously you're very involved in the skating world
Mm-hmm.
still to this day. And I think it would be cool to hear about like what it's like for the generation now coming up and what your rink and your space is doing to make that
Sure.
a different.
Yeah, well, I think in general, I mean, I know for myself, like I'm extremely obviously accepting, and I try to put that out there. So I think at our rank, we're very, we try to have a really good positive atmosphere at the rink, and it's been really great because I've had definitely, I've had students, coaches I work with that we work together, have had students that have now come out, and I think that they've done that because they know that they can be accepted and trusted with, in our community and in our group, which I just find so exciting, because I know even for myself it was hard. I remember when I came out and my coach at the time, he found out, and then he had to take me and have this meeting with me and then ask me like if it was true, and then ask me like if I knew what I was doing, and like ask me like sexual questions, and I was like, whoa, this is too much. Like I don't want to know anything about your life outside of coaching. And I also don't think that we should be even be talking about this. Like I would rather you just be like, hey, that's great, let's move on. Like I don't need, like it's not
That's not
like
appropriate.
right. And it's like, I mean, don't you think like, I don't know, in my mind I feel like yes, I am gay, but that's like one little small part of me. you know, like, yes, that's one aspect of myself, but there's
Mhm.
like 8,100 other things about myself as well. And I feel like that's so important. It's like, that's great. Like, I'm going to support, like, with my students that have come out, it's like, that's great. And I support them 100%.
Mhm.
They're in a good environment.
Mhm.
Um, and they can come to us with anything. But also, it's like, let's get on with skating. Let's get on with stuff. Like, we have to, like, dive so deeply and make it such a big, like, deal because it's like one small part of us.
That was like my nightmare when I was coming out. Like I've said before, but I posted the video in the middle of the night because like
Uh-huh.
I didn't want anybody to talk to me about it the next day.
You're like, I want it.
I don't want to explain myself. I don't want to say anything. And I mean, now I'm very comfortable talking about being queer all day long. But um,
But it's weird
putting somebody on the spot, like don't do
right,
that.
right. And also I think it's weird, like it's comfortable when it's your friends or some people you're really close to. But when it's somebody that's like, you obviously like your coach you're close with, but
Yeah.
um, at the time, like I was 16 and it was like I wasn't that close with that coach,
Mhm.
and it just was really awkward. I always felt like I don't really need to have a meeting with you about this. Like,
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry, like it's yeah, you're not my parents, and like I just want you to accept me and let's move on.
You're kind of too young, like, or at least like when I was 16,
Mhm.
I don't think I would have known to say, I don't owe you this conversation.
Right. And I certainly didn't. I felt like I had to go do that. But looking back now, and the person I am now, I would have said, yeah, no, I'm good.
But yeah. So that's, yeah, I mean, if you're a kid watching and somebody puts you can leave. Um,
Yes.
but also shouldn't be putting that on kids and teenagers. Uh,
Right. And I feel like it's, there because it was like, I guess if I would have gone to him to tell him, but it was like he heard the rumors at the rink or whatnot, other people talking.
yeah.
And so then he had to feel the need to come and ask me. And that just is what felt so weird. I was like, no, I don't need that. We don't need that.
Mm-hmm. We don't need a lot of things
Right.
that have been happening. Uh,
100.
and I know just hearing about like what you've said about your coaching environment and how it's a space where kids feel like they're comfortable to be who they are. It just gives me a lot of hope because I think there's been this like very pervasive narrative that to be a successful athlete, like there is mandatory suffering.
Right. Right.
And I think you're proving that that's not true.
I'm trying. I think that's been, I feel like that's been something all along that I've tried to, as I've gotten older, is to show that like it doesn't have to be just one way. Like there should be multiple ways to get to that final destination. And I just think it's so important, and especially in the day in life we're in now, it's like there's so many other things that I find like I think we talked about this too. I'm like, at the end of the day, it's just figure skating.
Mm-hmm.
Like the world is a much larger, bigger place than our sport. And I love our sport and I love skating and I've breathed and died for it. However, and you don't see it when
Mm-hmm.
you're younger because it's all it's your passion, it's your dream, and it's all you want, and you're
Mm-hmm.
working so hard. But, I wish there's times like my, 30-year-old self wish that I knew some of those things in my 18-year-old self because I think I would have made some different decisions on things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just knowing that, like, yes, this is our sport, this is our love, but there's so much more to it. And it makes me laugh now when I see people that are so, like, it's like they can't get out of this world, like that they're just stuck in this like small little part, and I'm like, but there's so much more. There's so much
Mm-hmm.
more. I know, like when my partner Charlotte and I quit skating together, it came at like I was very surprised. I didn't expect that we were going to stop skating.
Mm-hmm.
We had always said we were going to go through 2010 and then make a decision, and she decided to stop it in 2009, and like after nationals that year. And I kind of started like looking at my life because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to keep skating or if I wanted to just go into coaching. I kind of took a moment to really think about what I wanted to do. But one of the things I realized is like, wow, I have all my friends are skaters. I have like all I do is skate.
Mm-hmm.
And I really took a look at that, and I made a really um, big effort to go out and explore, and while I wasn't skating, and you know go out, especially to the gay community here in Dallas, and go out and meet people and get involved. And I will say it really changed my life. Having, friends that are not involved in skating has been like, it was amazing. It was like so nice to be able to just get away from that part of my life and, go and talk about something else. It had nothing to do with skating. Um,
Mm-hmm.
see that before until I did that. And then when I did decide to come back skating and competing, it was really hard. People would call like, "Hey, let's go get a drink or let's go out and like do something." It's like a Wednesday night. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I have to get up and skate in the morning, and they all what? I'm like, yeah, you didn't know about me. You didn't know that before, but now you know. So
And I feel very lucky because like my parents always like made me go to public high school. Like I wasn't somebody who when I was young, my whole world was built around skating.
mhm.
And I think it's easy to think like if you're not 24/7 like eat, breathe, sleep skating, like you're not doing enough. But
Right.
I say like I did one year where I wasn't in school and I took a gap year. Um, and my skating was always better when I had other things going on too.
Yeah, I think so because it's like it's always. I think in general, like if you put like all your eggs in one basket, sometimes it's like you put so much pressure on yourself because it's like the only thing you think you have, and then if it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go well, then you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing in my life? But if you have
Yeah.
a couple other things going on, it's
Mm-hmm.
easier to like let either the disappointments or the happy times. I feel like are easier to handle because it's like
Mm-hmm.
not your only thing going on. And I was lucky too. I went to public school as well. My parents were, and I think both are great. It's just my parents were
Yeah.
like not like
Yeah.
are not easy to work with, so we're not going to be doing homeschool with you. Like I think my
Yeah.
mom and like one of us would not be living. So I think
Yeah.
it's good that we like never that they didn't let me do that. At the time I wanted to so bad. I was like, please
Yeah.
let me homeschool. And they were like, no. It, but then, I also was really lucky that I had a school that worked really well with my skating.
Mm-hmm.
So they always were like, you can go, like, if you need to go, just go. And so, I mean, I definitely took
Mm-hmm.
full, full effort in that. And I would be like, oh, I have to go now for skating. And I did, it was fine.
No, but I sort of like had the same thing for a few years. But and that's not to say like I think that is so cool if you can invest so heavily in skate. Like I'm not saying it's wrong to do like
No,
the route and have that time like if
right.
right for your career, but I just think it's important to have some space outside of skating
Yes.
And just in terms of like getting inspired, like if you're
Mm,
only being inspired from things in the skating world, like there's a whole world out there that like of art and of music and of dance and like even like things you think are not related to skating will
right.
come back and like have an impact on your skating.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think there's so many things that like once I kind of had more um like worldly views, I guess, like I was able just to get out and see things, it was like it impacted my skating a lot more. And I feel like I had more, I could relate to a lot more. Like I could relate to music better. I could relate to dance better. I could relate to so many things because I had these other um, things to look at and see that it was, it just made it. I definitely agree. It made my skating better too.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I think that's like there was points in my career where I felt like I wasn't doing enough if it wasn't my entire life. And
Hmm.
I think it's cool to talk about how that's maybe not true.
Oh, I mean, uh, I think that everybody has to kind of again look at it and do it like what works best for them. Because I
Mhm.
think so much it's like this is the only way you can. There's too much of a mold of this is the only way that you can do this.
Absolutely.
That there's so many avenues, and I do think that's one thing that U.S. figure skating has done well, is create, obviously there's like, everyone wants to go to the Olympics and everyone wants to compete at nationals, but sometimes that isn't for everyone. And I think it's great that there's so many more avenues now that
Hmm.
you go down,
Hmm.
whether show skating or solo dance if you don't want to have a partner, or, the, um, I can't think of the new track, but the freestyle tracks that are different now. Like there's so many um, things that I think that are great to just be able to like open up for everyone who wants to be a part of skating, but also do it their own way.
Hmm. Yeah, and I actually like I started ice dancing in the solo dance series.
See,
Um,
it's amazing.
yeah, and I was like much old. Like I got into ice dance when I was almost 16. But it was cool because it was like I mean I was an okay single skater, but
Hmm.
in my rink we didn't have dance, and so I never even thought to do it. And we got a coach, and I took part in that. And I think having all those options like is never a bad thing.
No, I mean, it's so great. I mean, even some of my students who they've done solo dance, they've done showcase, they've done, theater on ice,
Hmm.
and now they're going off to go do Disney. And it's like they're, and it's like that. I love that. I love to see that that's their thing that they want to do and it's made them, happy. So
Hmm.
it's amazing just to have the opportunities to be able to do how you want to do it. It's
Hmm.
great.
Yeah, that's what SkateProud's here for. We're opening all the doors.
Open all of them.
Okay, I'm just gonna scroll through. If anybody has a question, you can drop it. I saw some comments, but I just want to see if there was any like specific questions. Sorry, I'm
No, you're fine.
not good with tech.
I'm like the worst. I always tell people, they're like, "Oh, do you know how to do this?" I'm like, "No, I can't even get my Apple TV to work right." So, like, I'm like the wrong person.
I am a grandma in a millennial's body.
Technical stuff is not my, like, not, no. Mm-mm.
Okay, well, I can't find any questions. Sorry if I missed yours, but if you want to end with anything, feel free to use this space right now.
I just, I'm hopeful for change. I think that, I think we've seen so much change in like the last years. But I just think there's still so much more to go. And I think especially kind of we hit on like, I think that there's more to do with, especially the internalized homophobia. I think that there's still a lot of work to do for that. So I'm hopeful that that will continue to change and be better. Um, I also, I don't know if you know this, but like I coined this saying like years ago, and so I have to tell everyone they have to let their sexy shine. Like that's like at the end of the day, just whatever you do in your life, you got to let your sexy shine. So, you know,
Oh,
that's
that's
important.
such a happy note. Oh, yay. This call made me yesterday's call was a little bit heavy. Like it was good, but it was
Yeah.
a little heavy.
Yes.
So I'm glad we got to laugh a little bit today because
Good.
I think we need both.
It's important. It is important, and I'm all about the happy. So the more
Yeah.
better.
And we're gonna make the skating world a different place together.
We are. We
Mhm.
are. I agree. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I had a
For
great.
sure.
Okay, I'll see you around sometime soon.
Yes, for sure. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.